The story of the White Bigfoot of Pennsylvania, often referred to as the albino Bigfoot or White Sasquatch, is a legendary tale that has gripped the imaginations of locals, cryptid hunters, and paranormal enthusiasts for decades. Though accounts of Bigfoot or Sasquatch sightings are widespread across North America, the Pennsylvania version is distinct due to the creature's unusual coloration, an albino or ghostly white fur that sets it apart from the typical dark-haired Sasquatches described elsewhere. Setting: Pennsylvania's vast wilderness. The state of Pennsylvania, known for its dense forests, rugged mountain ranges, and vast wilderness, is a prime location for such tales. The Appalachian Mountains run through much of the state, creating deep woods and isolated areas where a creature like Bigfoot could, theoretically, live undetected. It's within this mysterious and sprawling landscape, often in remote parts of southwestern and central Pennsylvania, that reports of a white Bigfoot have emerged. These stories primarily come from rural areas, where the population is sparse and people live in closer connection to nature. The thick forests of Fayette County, along with nearby areas such as Westmoreland and Somerset counties, have produced many of the sightings. Fayette County in particular is often considered a hot spot for Bigfoot activity, with numerous reports spanning decades. The first sighting: a cold winter's night. One of the earliest and most famous sightings of the White Bigfoot occurred in the late 1970s. It was a cold winter's night in Fayette County when a local farmer, let's call him John, was returning home after checking on his livestock. Snow blanketed the ground, reflecting the pale light of a full moon. As John walked through the woods, his breath forming clouds in the freezing air, he noticed something strange out of the corner of his eye. Standing near the edge of the tree line, just beyond his field, was a massive, hulking figure. At first, he thought it was a bear. Bears are not uncommon in Pennsylvania, and they often appear larger than life in the snow. But there was something different about this creature. For one, it was standing upright, far taller than any bear John had ever seen, perhaps standing around 8 to 9 feet tall. And then there was its fur. Instead of the dark brown or black fur typical of bears, this creature had a thick, shaggy coat of pure white, like fresh snow. John froze in place, heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the intensity of the creature's gaze as it stared back at him, its eyes glowing faintly red in the moonlight. For what felt like an eternity, neither of them moved. Then, without warning, the creature let out a low, guttural growl, a sound so deep and primal, it seemed to vibrate the air itself. John backed away slowly, terrified, until he could no longer see the figure through the trees. He ran the rest of the way home, breathless and shaken. The next morning, John returned to the area where he had seen the creature, half convinced that it had been a figment of his imagination. However, he found large footprints pressed into the snow, far larger than any human foot could make. The tracks led deep into the woods before disappearing into the wilderness. Sightings spread. 1980s to 2000s. After John's sighting, more reports of a white Bigfoot began to trickle in from different parts of Pennsylvania. In 1984, a group of hunters in Somerset County reported seeing a tall, white-furred figure moving silently through the forest. They described it as having an almost ghostly appearance, blending with the winter landscape so well that it seemed to vanish and reappear between the trees. By the late 1980s, the legend of the White Bigfoot had spread, and people began referring to it as the albino Sasquatch or the ghost Bigfoot. While sightings occurred throughout the year, the majority of encounters happened in the winter, when its snow-colored fur made it both easier to spot and easier to dismiss as a trick of the light. Locals would sometimes whisper that the creature was only visible when it wanted to be seen, adding an eerie supernatural twist to the tale. In the 1990s, there were more reports, some of which made local newspapers or were investigated by Bigfoot researchers and cryptozoologists. In 1991, a family camping in the woods near Ohiopyle State Park had a close encounter with the creature. They reported hearing strange howling sounds during the night, followed by the sight of a large white figure moving between the trees. They described it as being human-like but much larger, and said it moved with an unsettling silence, despite its size. Several years later, in 1996, a hiker near the Chestnut Ridge area claimed to have seen a similar creature. This sighting, like others before it, described a massive, bipedal figure with white fur, but this time the creature was spotted during daylight hours. The hiker managed to watch it for several minutes before it disappeared into the dense underbrush. He described its movements as eerily graceful for something so large, almost like it was floating. Theories and speculation. As sightings continued into the 2000s, theories about the White Bigfoot flourished. Some believed it to be an albino version of the more commonly seen dark-haired Sasquatch, an exceedingly rare genetic anomaly. Albino animals, while rare, are known to exist in the wild, so this explanation seemed plausible to some. Others, however, thought the White Bigfoot might not be a natural creature at all, but a spectral entity, something not of this world. This latter theory was fueled by the creature's strange behavior. Many who encountered the White Bigfoot reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread or unease in its presence, as though it exuded a supernatural aura. Some even claimed that it could vanish into thin air or become transparent, blending seamlessly into the snowy surroundings. The idea of a ghostly Bigfoot took root, with some locals believing the creature to be a spirit, a guardian of the forest, or even an omen of bad luck. Bigfoot researchers, however, remained largely skeptical of the paranormal explanations. Many of them believed the White Bigfoot was simply an elusive, flesh-and-blood creature that had managed to avoid human detection for centuries. They pointed out that the forests of Pennsylvania were vast and remote, providing plenty of hiding places for a creature of that size. Additionally, the hilly terrain and deep ravines of the region could easily mask such a creature's movements. Modern sightings. The legend lives on. In the 2010s and beyond, the White Bigfoot sightings in Pennsylvania have continued sporadically, though modern technology, such as trail cameras and drones, has yet to capture definitive proof of its existence. Nonetheless, the legend remains strong in rural communities. Hunters, hikers, and campers occasionally report strange sightings or unexplainable phenomena in the woods, with the White Bigfoot still at the center of these tales. The Chestnut Ridge area, in particular, has remained a hotspot for sightings, and to this day, cryptid enthusiasts and paranormal researchers frequently visit in hopes of catching a glimpse of the elusive White Bigfoot. Some bring high-tech equipment, while others rely on traditional tracking methods, but the creature remains as mysterious and elusive as ever. Whether it's a rare albino version of a legendary creature, a figment of the imagination, or something more supernatural, the White Bigfoot of Pennsylvania continues to haunt the forests and the minds of those who dare to venture into its territory.